up everyone, my name is Alpha and today we're back with a Pokemon challenge video. Today we're on Pokemon Sun and today's challenge be can I beat Pokemon Sun Hardcore Nuzlocke using only shiny Pokéride Pokemon. Surprisingly enough, I got the challenge from the comment section and I'm sorry I couldn't give you the credit you guys deserve. Chat gave me the idea. It's gonna be a pretty fun idea. Let's actually break down the rules of this. So it's gonna be a Hardcore Nuzlocke, so it's gonna be pretty interesting in itself. So the rule set's gonna be I can only catch one Pokemon per route and they have to be shiny, and also pertaining to the categories. This week's category is gonna be Pokéride Pokemon. Every Pokemon is actually catchable in the game besides Charizard, so I was surprised by that fact. I don't know if you guys are surprised by that fact, but every Pokemon is accessible. So surprisingly enough, we can catch every Pokemon. They do overlap, so we have to plan around that. They also only have one life, so if they ever faint, they are dead, and it's kind of annoying. So you know what, you don't want them to faint. But on top of that, it's going to be a level cap. So the level cap is going to be based on each island's Kahuna's highest level. So there's going to be 4 island, 4 Kahunas, and also the Elite 4. We're going to have to be very careful of that. We can't go over the level cap, and at some point we actually do, so we have to make sure we don't. And on top of that, to make it even more hard, you can't use items inside of battle. You have to play on set mode, so it's pretty difficult overall. And the only fun that comes out of it will be each of my Pokemon will be nicknamed after you guys in the comments. So thanks so much for leaving a comment in my previous challenge video. If you guys want to be nicknamed after a future Pokemon, just drop in the comments and hopefully your pictures. And while it's down there, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. Anyways, let's get into the challenge video itself. So to begin off, Charmander is not actually catchable, so I could have rebuilt the ROM and gave myself a Charmander, but and started shiny hunting for a Charmander through the starter pack. You know what, just gonna skip that. Give myself a Charmander because this is not gonna be the first attempt. Yeah, it's gonna be a few restarts that happen. So unfortunately, we have to face off against this Rowlet against Hal without Ember. So yeah, that's already a bad omen. So from there, we're gonna move out and face off against Olivia, and you can see how confident I am against Olivia without being hesitant. I've been through this a few times. So against Olivia, we're able to beat him down pretty easy. Get some work up, get my stat boosted, and just beat down the Smeargle, beat down the Young Goose, and beat down Olivia. So from there, we're gonna move out into the normal type trial. We can get a T-on for Brick Break and then face off against the Totem normal type Gumshoes, and then just Brick Break him down. So 2 Brick Breaks would knock him out, and then also knock out the Young Goose for us. We're gonna beat the normal trial pretty easily, just gonna speed up through it. And now we're gonna face up against Hal outside of this place. I'm not sure why he wants to fight me, but once we face up against Hal, he's always gonna jump my level. He's gonna get me over the level cap. Now this is my only Pokemon, so I can't actually box him. We're gonna reduce the XP on my Charmander because obviously we can't be over the level cap for the first fight, so we're gonna reduce the XP, cheat a little bit because my only Pokemon can't do anything about that. It's always like scripted to get myself that much XP for this fight, so gotta change the XP. Just want to be transparent with you guys. But from there, this is where I restart so many times. I face off against Hala, and Hala is gonna be really annoying. He's gonna start the battle off against us using Mankey. Mankey kills us 99% of the time. The reason why is because we need a smoke screen into him, and once we get a bunch of smoke screen, he's gonna miss his karate chop. Hopefully he doesn't hit me like that, but he's gonna miss a bunch of karate chops and then allow me to go for workups against him. Once I get +6 with workups, I'm able to Ember into the Mankey to knock him out, which is really nice. From there, I get Dragon Rage as a move, which is really good. He also switched out into his Makuhita, which has thick fat. He's gonna be a resistance against my Ember, so I gotta use Dragon Rage against him. He's also gonna use Sand Attack against me, so I gotta not miss against the Crab Brawler, which actually happened one time, so it's super annoying. But anyways, knock out the Makuhita. His final Pokemon will be a Crab Brawler. I outspeed him at least. I'm able to Ember into him, and Ember will knock him out for sure. And we're able to beat down Hala just barely. From there, my Charmander will evolve into a Charmeleon, and things are okay. You know, things are overall okay. From there, I can move on and finally get another Pokemon. We're gonna actually move back out into Tenseret Hills, which is behind Professor Kukui's house. We go out. Normally, we shiny hunt for a Rockruff out here, but we decided to get ourselves a Machop. Not decided to. Machop is the only Pokemon we can get in this route, so we're gonna shiny hunt for a Machop out here and get ourselves a shiny Machop. I really love the Machamp line, so I don't mind at all. And from there, we can catch ourselves a Machop. Go out to Route 4, which is on the Hala Island. We're gonna shiny hunt out here. Normally we get ourselves an Eevee out here, but the challenge, it does not fit the category. We could get a Mudbray or also a Lillipup. Doesn't matter which one we get because we have another option of getting both of them later on as well. We ended up getting ourselves a Lillipup anyway, so catch up, add it to my team. Don't really mind. From there, we're gonna move out into the Water Totem fight, which we're gonna use our Machop against. Machop is able to knock off against him and basically secure the win just through that, because he ends up using Soak on me, so I'm part water type at this point and I can knock out the Wishy-Washies. So we end up beating down the water trial pretty easily. We decided to go back into this route. I'm not too sure what this route is. It's like right outside of the free-for-all corner, past the ranch, and then it's just like right in this route where you see Hapu for the first time. But anyways, we're gonna shiny hunt out here and we get ourselves a shiny Mudbray, which we could get ourselves a Lillipup in here, but Lillipups can be duplicated, so that wouldn't count as a new encounter. So we get ourselves a Mudbray out here and then move back into the ranch area and then shiny hunt out here because this is the only area we can get ourselves a Tauros. So works out pretty well. We get every single encounter possible for us, so it works out really well. This thing gets a little annoying, but eventually we catch ourselves a Tauros, add it to our team, and now we can move on. Face off against the fire trial in the game. We're gonna use our Mudbray just to high horsepower into the Magmar and also the Marowak, and face off against the Totem Salazzle, which is gonna be really easy. It's gonna go for a Toxic on the first turn as I go for a high horsepower and knock out the Salazzle in one turn. As ready to beat down the fire trial, and that's it. that's it. From there, we're gonna move on and face off against the grass trial in the game. We're gonna face off against the Totem Lorantis. I decided to actually switch up my Charmander into a physical attacker because his stats actually look better on physical attacks. So we're actually able to go for flame charges against the Lorantis and then use the sun it sets up with the cast form to knock him out pretty easily. So we end up beating down the grass totem pretty easily. So we'll take that. So from there, we can actually move on and face off against the second Kahuna in the game. We're gonna face off against Olivia next. Olivia's gonna be the rock type Kahuna, and we're gonna start the battle off against her using my Mudbray. Now Mudbray is able to go for a high horsepower against Nosepass and eventually just two-shot into him. So yeah, Olivia's team's pretty easy. Actually, against the Bodor, I don't have the Evilate on my Mudbray. I have it on my Machop for later, but surprisingly, the Bodor does so much damage against my Mudbray. And then from there, she can switch out into her Lycan Rock. I thought I can go for a Z move right now, but doesn't. So I go out to my Machop and then just take a bunch of rock throws for some reason. So eventually, I'm able to knock out the Lycan Rock, so we'll take that. We also get Fire Fang on our Charmeleon, so I mean, a pretty decent fight. We don't have any worries like Hala. And then the level caps can jump to 39. At this point, I can evolve my Mudbray into a Mudsdale, and also my Herdier into a Stoutland, also my Machop into a Machoke. So things are looking pretty good for us as we're going to move on and face off against Guzma. Now off screen, I forgot to record the electric trial, but we beat him down pretty easily. We also evolved my Charmeleon into a Charizard, as you can see. So we're going to face off against Guzma, clear through Guzma pretty easily. We're going to face off against the Ghost Trial in the game and face off against the Mimikyu Totem. He's pretty strong. I go out to my Stoutland to start the battle to lower the attack stat of the Mimikyu and also go for a Crunch to break its disguise. It works out pretty well for us because it actually lowers the defense a bit, so we'll take that on our first turn. We also lower the defense again. There's 2 defense drops, so from there I can switch out to anyone. I decided to go out into my Tauros, and I take a play rough against him. Tauros, unfortunately, has Anger Point and not Intimidate, so it's kind of annoying, but works out for us as I'm able to go for a Smart Strike and knock out the Mimikyu. As his Haunter gets a little annoying, goes for Hypnosis against me, but I go out into my Mudsdale to knock out the Haunter, and then from there we're able to beat down the Ghost Trial and face off against Guzma. We also evolve my Machoke into a Machamp and then, face off against Guzma. Pretty easy fight. That allows us to face off against Nanu next, the third Kahuna in the game. We're gonna start the battle off against Nanu Sableye with my Tauros. Now Tauros, pretty easy. Just go for a few Bodos against the Sableye. I'm able to lower the speed of it. I'm just gonna chip it down. Eventually, I don't go for a rest for some reason. I want to use this Hyper Potion and just keep chipping it down till I'm at low HP and I can't take any more Power Gems. I go out to my Machamp after this, and then from there I'm able to go for a Bodos to knock out the Sableye. His next Pokemon will be a Crocorock, which is gonna go for an Earthquake and does a lot of damage against me, which is really annoying. But I'm able to survive it, and I'm gonna go for a Brick Break against his Crocorock. So I'm able to knock out the Crocorock, and then from there his final Pokemon will be a Persian, which is gonna fake out me and also Dark Pulse into me, and it does a lot of damage. I'm kind of scared of it. I'm kind of scared of the Z move right now, so I decided to switch out into my Mudsdale. Now Mudsdale unfortunately gets the bad end, gets Dark Pulse and Flinch, so at this point the Dark Hole Eclipse would knock on my Mudsdale, so I gotta be very careful. I go out into my Charizard to take the Dark Hole Eclipse, which works pretty well for us as we're ready to survive, but I don't want to stay in for a Power Gem, so I switch out into my Stoutland. Stoutland's able to survive the Power Gem and also does not get flinched with the Dark Pulse. We're able to 2-shot into the Persian with Takedown as we're ready to survive against Nanu and not lose a single Pokemon, so we take that as a win. So from there, we're going to move on. After this Grand Trial, we're going to move on and face off against Guzma and Lusamine. We're able to beat down Guzma pretty easily with my Sweeper Charizard. You'll see why in a little bit. You can actually see the moveset I'm running, but it's a Sweeper Charizard. I'll show you guys the setup later on, but we beat Lusamine as well, and then now we can move on into the worst location in the game. We move on into the Pony Wilds. We have the Shiny Hunt out here for a 10% or 5%. I forgot. I think it's 10% encounter of Lapras. Lapras is the most annoying I think it's 5%. I take it back. It has to be 5% because this thing was not possible to get. It's so hard to find. anything. So eventually, after a couple hours, even with boosted odds, we finally found ourselves a shiny Lapras. We're gonna take our time and catch it, add it to our team. We don't want to mess this up. Add the Lapras, and now we can move on and face off against Hapu, the final Kahuna in the game. We're starting the battle off against Hapu using my Mudsdale against her Dugtrio. Now we're able to go for an Earthquake against her as she goes for a Sandstorm, and it works out pretty well as we're able to one-shot the Dugtrio. As her next opponent after that will be a Gastrodon. Go out into my Lapras, which will take a Muddy Water. It's not even a good Lapras, it doesn't have Water Orbs, it has Shell Armor out of everything. So from there, I go for a Rain Dance to set up the rain against the Gastrodon. I go for a Hydro Pump, I land the Hydro Pump. It lowers my accuracy. I land a Hydro Pump. I go for a Brine. It misses the Brine, and then go for a second Hydro Pump. It lands that one. Make it make sense. Doesn't matter. Gastrodon goes down. Your next opponent will be a Mudsdale, which I know is going to go for a Z move, so I go out to my Charizard. Also, it can't do any damage against my Charizard anyways, so it only works out. I go out to my Stoutland, and just to lower his attack stat, I don't know why. I just want to switch out to my Lapras safely, but I got a little greedy, and I kept going for Crunches to lower his defense, and then Baby Doll Eyes to lower his attack stat. Eventually, he's going to get fed up with me and Earthquake and knock me out with a crit. So, yeah, I played around too much, and you saw what happened. I go out into my Lapras next, which will Ice Beam and knock him out, which I should have done the whole time, but doesn't matter. Her next opponent will be a Flygon, which I survive an Earth Power from. And from there, I can Ice Beam and knock out the Flygon pretty easily, as we're ready to beat down Hapu and secure the final Grand Trial in the game. But yeah, we lose Stoutland, so that means we gotta go Shiny Hunting. The final Shiny Hunting Pokemon will be in this area. We Shiny Hunt in this puddle. Now, it's a 1% encounter to get Sharpedo in the first place, 10% in the bubbling areas, and for some reason, that was actually less tedious and less annoying than the Lapras. Somehow, this was less annoying. Look, you can see how many times I get nothing reeled in, but eventually we find ourselves a shiny Sharpedo. We're gonna add it to our team, and this thing does really nothing. Really does nothing at all. You'll see what it does later on, but from there we're gonna face off against the final trial in the game. We're face off against the Tomokomo, which we get an Ice Beam off against with my Lapras. We eventually knock him out with a Dragon Claw from a Charizard, but this hack mode gets kind of scary, so I don't really want to stay in against him, so I gotta switch out to my Machamp against the hack mode. Eventually knock him out with a Brick Break as we're ready to beat down the final trial in the game. And now we're gonna move on and face out against Lucamine. Now Lucamine in this boosted up fight can be very scary. If this Clefable gets Metronome, any rock move, I am going to be very mad. So the only thing I want to do is use Swords Dance with my Charizard to get +6 against him. Lucky enough, it doesn't get any rock moves at all, and I'm able to go for Flame Charges against the Clefable. Also heal up my HP because this Clefable is doing a little bit of damage, so I gotta be very careful of that. But eventually I knock out the Clefable with Flame Charge. And then her next opponent will be a Miss Magius, which I go for a Flame Charge as well. And then her next opponent after that will be the Maltic, which surprisingly Dragon Claw does one-shot. I calc it, so it works out pretty well. We're able to knock out the Maltic and also knock out the Beware, which actually resists the Dragon Claw. It doesn't resist it, but Fluffy blocks the damage of it, so I gotta use Flame Charge on him. And finally, her last opponent will be a Lilligant, which she was trying to hide in the back. We're able to Flame Charge and knock her out pretty easily as we're ready to beat down Lucamine. And now we can move on. Face off against Gladion, which this fight was pretty easy, you know. Lapras clutched up pretty well. Against Hal, we're able to beat him down as well, and we're able to beat down both our rivals right before the Elite Four. We're gonna head into the Elite Four after this. We're gonna start with our rematch. We're gonna get our run back. We're gonna get our salty run back against Hala. We're gonna start the battle off against Hala using my Charizard. Now Charizard's here, just the Sword Sense in front of him. We're gonna take a close combat pretty well, and then from there, I'm like, you know what? I can't take another one. Hopefully, I can survive one with a Roost to activate my Berry. And then it does, so my Berry actually activates, and then from there I was hoping I survive another close combat, and lucky enough I do. Estimated to go for a second Swords Dance, and I'm in Blaze range, so my Flame Charge is actually stronger than my Air Lace at this point. I'm able to Flame Charge into Hariyama. I get a Speed Boost off against that, and then I can go for an Air Lace against the Poliwrath. And from there, his next opponent after that will be a Primate. I could have gone for a Flame Charge to boost my speed, but Air Lace to knock out the Primate. His next opponent after that will be a Crabominable, which I should have gone for a Flame Charge, but Air Lace would knock him out either way. And then after that, his next opponent will be a Beware, which actually almost kills me with a Hammer Arm, so I gotta be very careful. I go switched out to my Mudsdale. Mudsdale does not take the Hammer Arm as well. Go out to my Machamp, does not take it, and no one's taking it at all, so I'm like, I'm sorry, Sharpedo, this is your role. You gotta be sacked. I sack my Sharpedo, go out to my Lapras. Lapras is part Ice type, but it could tank one because it's so much HP. I didn't matter because I have a Lax Instance on. I dodged the Hammer Arm as I'm able to go for a Psychic against him. 2 seconds we knock out the Beware as we're ready to beat down Hala, and yeah. Get our run back. We only lose one Pokemon, so I don't know. it doesn't count as a run back. It doesn't matter to me. We beat Hala, and now we can move on and face off against Olivia next. Olivia's giving me the rock type Elite 4 member in the game. We're set to battle off against her really well with my Machamp. We're gonna break into the Relicanth, which works out. And for some reason, I switched it to my Mudsdale against the water type, and it goes for Hydro Pump. And it missed, luckily, but then I stayed in anyways. I'm like, what is going on? I am terrible. But lucky enough, I Earthquake and knock out the Relicanth. I still get put to sleep, which is annoying. And then her next bone will be a Carbink. I do get a Heavy Slam off before I go to sleep, but it gets a Reflect Off, so it survives it. But it works out pretty well. Eventually, after, of course, I get 3 turns of sleep, but eventually when my Mudsdale wakes up, I'm able to knock out the Carbink at least, and then I'm also able to get my berry up. So I'm able to knock out the Carbink, get my berry and my HP up, and then the next one will be a Probopass, which I'm able to go for a Bodo. I survive with Earth Power pretty well, and then it's gonna keep healing up. I go for a Bodo, slower speed. You know, it's a whole like cycle at this point. Eventually, I'm able to just knock him out with Bodos. Knock out the Probopass. Her next one will be a Lightning Rock, which I go for an Earthquake. Does a lot of damage to it. I don't know why. After taking the rock climb, I stayed in, and lucky enough, I survived against the second rock climb. I was ready to knock out the Lightning Rock, but I don't think I should have. That does not look right. Anyways, her next bone will be an Alolan Golem, which I switched out into my Machamp. I take a Steamroller, and then from there, I can Bodos twice into him to knock him out pretty easily. As ready to beat down the Golem and beat down Olivia. From there, we're going to move on and face off against Accelera. Accelera is going to be the Ghost type Elite 4 member. We're going to start the battle off against her Sableye using my Mudsdale. Finally, we get a use from Own Temple as we get faked out, and then she tries to confuse me. Doesn't work. We're able to Earthquake into the Sableye and then force her to heal up, and then Earthquake kills her anyway, so that's kind of a troll. From there, her next Pokemon will be Frostlass, which I can't stay in, so I switched it to my Lapras. Big wall against the Ice type Pokemon, so I went for a Hydro Pump. I'm going to force it to use a Full Restore and then go for a Rain Dance, since that means my second Hydro Pump would knock him out. It's going to go for a Confuse Ray, and eventually I'm going to break through Confusion and knock out the Frostlass, which works out pretty well for us. Her next Pokemon will be a Delmise, which I go out into my Charizard, which Charizard at this point can do whatever it wants to it, so I get +6 with my Charizard. And then from there, I'm getting Roost up into Slam misses, because from personal experience, I know how many times Slam misses. So eventually, Slam does miss, as you can see. And then from there, I can Air Lace and knock out the Delmise. Her next Pokemon will be a Palossand, which goes for a Z move. And I'm like, you know what? I survive it. I take it pretty easily. And I do. I made a 2-shot into the Palossand with 2 Air Laces. And her next opponent after that will be a Drifloon, which I should have gone for a Roost. Would have been a smarter play, because then I could just one-shot it. But I go out into my Machamp. And at this point, it goes for an Amnesia. I can go for a Knockoff and a Poison Jab into him. Survive my Omnis win pretty easily, and then knock off to knock out the Drifloon. It doesn't get any boost as we're ready to beat down Accelera and also take the Aftermath. We have Guts as an ability and not No Guard, but would have taken that Dynamic Punch any day of the week. Anyways, from there, we're going to face off against Kahili next. Kahili is going to be the Flying type Elite 4 member in the game. We're going to start the battle off against her using my Charizard against her Skarmory. This is just setup bait. We're going to get +6 with my Swords Dance against the Skarmory. It does do a lot of damage, because I can't lie, this thing does a lot of damage to me. So I got to go for a Flame Charge once in a while to activate the full restores on the Skarmory. And eventually, I'm able to just knock out the Skarmory with 2 Flame Charges as she heals up. And then her next opponent after that will be a Mandibuzz, which takes the Air Lace pretty easily and goes for punishment. Almost knocks me out, but lucky enough, it knocks me down to Blaze range, so I made the Flame Charge into him and knock him out. Her next opponent after that will be a Toucannon, which I one-shot with my Flame Charge, because, you know, it's Charizard +6 in Blaze range. I could have actually calced this against the Oricorio, but I didn't want to, so I just went for a Roost Off. And it didn't matter, because she didn't go for a Teeter Dance. She also doesn't do a lot of damage with Air Slash, so, you know, works out pretty well. I made it to just Roost up and then eventually Air Lace to knock out the Oricorio. And her final opponent will be a Crobat, which I go for a Flame Charge and knock out in one shot. As we're to beat down Kahili, and now it's time for the champion. So we're going to face off against the champion of the game. We're going to face off against Professor Kukui. We're going to start the battle off against him using my Machamp against his Lycan Rock. So surprisingly enough, he does not go for a Stealth Rock. He went for a Stone Edge. So I'm like, okay, I'll take that. Breaks to knock out the Lycan Rock. For some reason, he did that. The next one will be a Braviary, which, okay, I'm going to switch out because I obviously a Flying type. I go out to my Tauros. I take a Brave Bird pretty well, surprisingly, for a Tauros. And then from there, I could just Rock Tomb into him. And then 3 Rock Tombs looks like he's going to kill the Braviary, as he's going to actually just Whirlwind me out. And Whirlwind into my Mudsdale, which I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go for a Heavy Slam. He heals out again, which I'm like, I'm knocking out the Braviary. He's going to Whirlwind me out into my Lapras, which actually forces him out into his Magnezone for some reason, as I go for an Ice Beam. Break is sturdy. So I'm like, okay, I could go out to my Mudsdale. He's a Ground type in the back. I'm going to avoid the Thunder Wave because I'm a Ground type. Knock out his Magnezone by taking a Flash Cannon too. But then he's going to switch out to his Ninetales. And then I'm like, I still have my Lapras in the back. Lapras is going to tank this. So go out to my Lapras. I take a Blizzard, and then 2 Hydro Pumps would knock him out. You know how many hours I spent with Lapras? At this point, Lapras would not miss a single Hydro Pump for me. So it works out pretty well. 2 Hydro Pumps would knock out the Ninetales for us, as we're able to beat down the Ninetales. His next Pokemon will be a Braviary, which I just stayed in. Go for an Ice Beam. He full restores this thing once again. No value is coming out of those full restores, as he gets the Tailwind off as I'm able to Ice Beam and knock him out. His next Pokemon after that will be a Snorlax, which I decided to just switch out into my Machamp really hard. Which I don't know if it was the best play, but I get Body Slam and Paralyzed. Activates my Guts, so I'm able to break into him. I don't get paralyzed, I'm able to knock him out in one shot. And his final Pokemon will be Primarina, which I decided to switch out. I switched out into my Lapras, and Lapras, I really wish I kept Parasong for this situation, but I didn't. I go for a Psychic for some chip damage. Doesn't do too much, as she can knock me out with a Moonblast. I'm okay with that. I go out to my Tauros. I go for a Rock Tomb specifically just to lower his speed, so my Mudsdale can actually outspeed him. And from there, he's gonna knock me out with a Moonblast. It's okay. I got into my Charizard after that because I didn't really believe in my Mudsdale to kill at this range. So I want to do some more chip damage. My Charizard is able to do a lot of chip damage with Air Lace, but then it's gonna get hit with a Z move. So I'm like, oof, that thing's not good. So from there, even if it heals up, which I don't think it has anymore, so I can go for an Earthquake with my Mudsdale to knock out the Primarina, as we're ready to beat down Professor Kukui and Gyarados. Well, not we become the champion of the game. We beat Pokemon Sun, Nuzlocke, using only shiny Pokéride Pokemon, so that was actually pretty fun to do. You know, minus the Sharpedo being useless, and also Sharpedo and Lapras taking up so much time as shiny hunting, it was actually an overall pretty fun challenge. I was actually really liking my Charizard, my physical attacking Charizard the whole time. It was really fun to just sweep down everyone. But outside of that, that'll be the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching all the way to now. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you guys can, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. Anyways, my name's been Alpha, and I hope you guys all had a great day, and I'm out. Peace.